Warning, this episode contains graphic language, elven drug use, anxiety spirals, and as always, teen angst. Also, there will be spoilers for chapters 32 through 41 of Inheritance, Book 4 of the Inheritance Cycle by Christopher Paolini. Listen at your own risk.
Is this a podcast, or is this just fantasy? We're just two nerds and we love our fantasy. So join us if you want to nerd out. Time to start the podcast and see. Anyway, here's the show.
Hello, readers. I'm Dane Patterson, the host who also would have misplaced his braided belt. I mean, come on. It's a braided belt. It goes with literally nothing, and it doesn't really scream, cool dude, leader of men. It's giving like, my grandma told me it looked real nice.
Tell that to me in the early aughts with my extensive collection of braided, wide waist belts, Dane.
That's what I forgot, Jacqui, notably leader of men.
So true. I'm Jacqui Lanier, and is this a podcast or is this just fantasy? The podcast where we would also be looking for any reason, just any reason at all, to take a quick side quest if we were named the leaders of a rebel alliance in the middle of a war.
Ooh, I don't have that on my calendar.
No, it's really going to be tough for me to pencil it in.
If you'd like to support us on Patreon, there's a link in the show notes. By joining our comrades on Patreon, you'll have direct input on the next series we cover on the pod. You'll get exclusive access when we launch our bonus book club, and you'll be a legend like Kaushik, who generously supported the goofy work we do here.
Yes.
Be like Kaushik.
Yes, shout out to Kaushik. And don't forget, we are still running our merch giveaway. Only 5 more episodes to review us on Apple Podcasts and email a screenshot to isthisjustfantasypod@gmail.com. After the last Inheritance episode, we will pick 1 grand prize winner and send you a whole bundle of merch. We will pick 2 more winners to send some of these cool tumblers. If you watch our YouTubes, you have seen the tumblers time and again. We're well hydrated here.
Oh, yes.
And then we will pick 3 more winners to send stickers because we're feeling spicy and we like more than one winner here.
Everyone's a winner.
Yes.
Well, there are losers, but
but 6 of you are winners.
Yeah.
And before we can find out the winner of the battle in Leona, let's do a quick recap to find out how this whole shit show started. I will give you a hint up front. It's blood cults. It always starts with blood cults, Dane.
Great.
But before the blood cults, we get a whole ass training montage with Aragon. He's still on his daily sparring grind with Arya when Glader pops back up to act as Zen master here. Glader coaches Aragon on the highest ideals of stump time, being one with time and space and existence, mastering one's own mind. This should be pretty easy skills for a teen to master.
Oh, yeah, notably teens are always chill and meditative.
Yes. They're interrupted by Queen President, who comes for a little ancient dragon advice regarding the whole, siege that's happening. But their predicament and Glader's, worsening depression, his whole condition, just basically lead to Aragon and Arya having a wide-ranging nighttime chat full of sexual tension that nobody asked for, especially not me. As the siege drags on, Aragon insists, against the advice of literally everybody we know, including ourselves, on learning a likely useless spell that might kill him. He's successful, but time to celebrate is short because Roran arrives back from Aros, and Jode casually solves their whole siege problem.
Yeah.
By finding a secret entrance into Leona. Neswata devises a plan to exploit the Forgotten Sewer by sending a stealth elf team led by Aragon to infiltrate the city and open the gates from within. What could go wrong? It seems like it's gonna be solid plan. Arya, Angela, and Solomon are added to the crack team, and the cursed witch baby gets the invite, and she not so politely declines to drag her 6-year-old body into open conflict. I think that's probably fair.
Yeah.
I think we come down on the side of that's a good idea.
I mean, if a baby doesn't want to go on a death mission, then the baby doesn't have to go on a death mission.
So it's time to go on a tunnel crawl, and the creep factor ratchets as high as Christopher Paolini can get it, which is really saying something. There's blood cult history, laughing dead, spiky crystal booby traps, and cultists. A deadly dozen elf gets a name on this adventure. His name is Weirden. We love him. And then he immediately gets murdered.
What a weird
in a tunnel
end.
trap. So we're learning the lesson. Don't get a name. And Aragon falls prey to a trap himself that leaves him and Arya imprisoned at the mercy of Helgrind's high priest. And that little potatoes plan is I don't know why I wrote that. It's to defy Gal and sacrifice them to feed secret Razak Rozak hatchlings, but never fear. Oh yeah, Angela's here. She and Solumbum free Aragon and Arya to dispatch the hatching Rozak, so we're once again on the right side of the genocide that keeps on giving. They press through on the Blood Cult's lair, searching for their weapons and relying on the magic system bending skills that Angela keeps busting out left and right. When they finally make it above ground into the cathedral, they face down the final cult boss once and for all. And all of Angela's mystery and kookiness pays dividends in badassery in this scene as she just disintegrates the High Priest of Hellgrind. And we left on a cliffhanger as the cathedral bells start tolling an alarm while Aragon straps back up with Brissinger and Arryn and radios up to Saphira to get moving with the Vardens' attack on the city. Let's take this hellhole down, Dane.
Let's do it.
Yes, or is that a war crime? Sometimes I get confused when all the dragons get involved and I get excited.
Yeah, I don't know. That's for the people at the end of the war to figure out.
We're just gonna beat them militarily. Leave all the citizens alive. I'm sure that's what's happening.
Yeah, they'll all be safe.
Perfect.
I mean, it's just Blödhgarm and Saphira.
What could go wrong?
Two notably chill dudes. That'll be fine.
It's fine.
But in this episode, we are in the midpoint.
Yes.
For the last season of the original Inheritance cycle books.
I can't believe it, dude.
And as all these plot lines wrap up,
I
wanted to ask you about other stories not connected to this main story.
Okay.
That we might want to hear in this world. Do you have one or two you might like?
Okay. I mean, obviously, the first thing that comes to mind, just because we talk about it all the time, is the Brahm and Jode adventure egg stealing prequel.
Yeah, I want it.
But I don't think that is in the spirit of your question. It feels very connected to the main story, I guess.
Yeah. Let me give you I would really like, and I think I've mentioned this before, but I would like a heist plot with someone like Karn, someone that can just read the memory, maybe an Urgle who got kicked out because he's weak. And I don't know, a dwarf who trains Feldenost.
Yes.
He's the getaway driver.
A Fellowship of the Ring style group of magic adjacent people.
Yes, and they're going into a cave to steal crystals or something.
Cool, world buildy stuff like that.
Yeah, I want what tertiary characters.
Okay.
Or what do other people think's going on? How do they feel about all this stuff?
Yeah,
I want to go into places we've never been before.
Ooh, I like that a lot. I mean? You know what I think would be really cool? This might be spoiler adjacent, but I think I want some high seas, piracy adventures. I think we got some obviously oceanfaring, seafaring throughout Eldest.
Yes.
Roran was doing a lot of that, and that was very fun. That big whirlpool was terrifying.
Yes.
And then I think the seas proved to be a very interesting foe in this series.
That could be kind of cool.
Hell yeah. I think that'd be really fun.
Yeah, and we also have those right? Well, I don't know if we're there.
That's what I was spoiler adjacent.
Spoiler. That is spoiler adjacent. I'm so sorry, everybody. I would also like a Clan War spinoff.
Ooh.
I want a dark, gritty, political Clan War situation.
You want the full Game of Thrones treatment with the Dwarven clans.
I just want a Dwarven clans.
Totally agree, because you have remember we had all those tunnels under the tunnels and that giant fucking lake that's underneath Trondheim.
So cool.
Yes, the dwarves have a lot of depth to mine, if you will, Dane.
Nice.
Because I think also we talked a lot about, which would be very fun, a whole detective series of novels.
Yes.
I mean, I love Nancy Drew, Agatha Christie.
Something
notably. Agatha Christie adjacent. That's our CSI Trondheim we kept talking about when Oric was running around solving that crime. I want the Dwarven detective series.
All right, I'm with you. We basically want more dwarves.
Yeah.
Is basically what we want.
Dwarves, pirates, and lesser magic people.
I want lesser magic people, yeah.
Christopher Paolini would fuck up a pirate gang, don't you think?
I think he'd be kind of cool with pirates. There's a lot to do here in this world, but we don't have any time.
No time.
Because today's a big episode.
It is. It's a chonker.
And we got to get going.
Yeah, let's do it.
That takes us to chapter 32, Black-Shrike-Thorn-Cave.
Yes.
We come back this week, and I'm just fucking pumped.
Yes.
Because it's a Saphira chapter, and I love these. We never get enough of them.
No.
Saphira is a bloodthirsty, vain, and haughty bitch, but she's our bloodthirsty, vain, and haughty bitch,
So true. We love her.
Yeah, she's great.
Get him, girl.
Yeah, right. Anyway, she's dodging stones in the air and dodging arrows with ease over Leona. Clearly not a fan of the city like the dirty city below her, with our favorite furry Blödhgarm on her back.
That's right.
Yeah.
They're teamed up here, huh?
Yes, she's musing on how everyone is so stupid for believing that Blödhgarm is Aragon, because he doesn't even smell like Aragon.
My God.
When our sex panther tells her it's time to party, and they get
So Blödhgarm didn't cover his musk to like really inhabit the role of Aragon.
no, he's like, I'm keeping the sex.
He
musk.
covers the musk for nothing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
He tells her it's time to party, and they get right to the battle boogie, pissing off Thorn. Speaking of spinoffs, these two need a buddy cop show. I feel like they see the savage killer in each other.
Yeah.
It would be a lot. There'd be a lot of tension for some reason. I don't know. Talk about a drama. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, Saphira lands on top of the cathedral and roars her fury. And I got to give my boy Paolini props here, as the the imagery in this section is fucking amazing. It's just so cool. I want a gothic poster with this image on it. It would be so metal and in
so
my
cool.
garage. Yeah.
Somebody draw one up. We'll put it back here.
Yeah, it'd be dope. At one point, Saphira just gets annoyed at the bell tolling next to her and is like, shut up, and then burns the rope holding the bell until it breaks and falls. She's my kind
she's
of
a problem solver.
Yeah. Sheer violence and force.
Yes.
Can you imagine being in a city when Saphira is allowed to just set set on it with impunity?
No.
The terror.
Especially she hates Leona. I mean, I feel like she probably hates most cities and most people and just is vicious. But she also has the added boosty of Aragon's connection and just how much trauma this place has caused them. And you could really tell here.
Yeah, exactly. Meanwhile, our best boy Blödhgarm is just murking a magician, and without missing a beat, he's like, let's do this, pointing to Thorn, who's coming at them now. Which leads to Saphira having just the best thoughts. Her vanity is truly something special here. She thinks about how she just looks fantastic and really wants the people to appreciate her. Look your best, girl.
Well,
I got you.
She probably does look amazing, and you know this, Dane. You got to look good to feel good.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we're not wearing
You got to dress for the job you want.
Yeah, that's why we're not wearing braided belts. Anyway.
Hey, I was at one point, and I thought they were very cool. I felt great about it.
Anyway, Thorn and Saphira go right at it, and it's not in a fun way. Thorn dives at her, and it's on like Donkey Kong, baby. They swirl around each other, fire coming out of both their maws, biting and clawing with abandon. We learn that this combat, that Thorn's body has been altered just so much. He's actually much larger than Saphira at this point. Oof. But our girl isn't phased one bit.
No, it scared me. I was like, oh shit, I didn't realize we were going to go to the moon like this.
And then she's like, she knows she's better in the air. Mm-hmm. She's got a much better understanding of her body.
Yeah.
And she's even trained in combat with Glader, who was much, much bigger than Thorn.
So true. She puts my concerns at ease.
Yeah, as she thinks about it, she's like, I'm so much better.
I've got this. She's the best.
Yeah, Saphira does her best to keep Thorn and Murtagh busy. She goes hard on the offense, just as Murtagh's talking shit, and pushes Thorn off the building. Our emo boys, they're both emo boys at this point, both fall. Yeah. Thorn's wings break. Ugh. And they're only saved by their wards. Saphira keeps busy by casually lighting a row of houses on fire to slow them down, which
wild.
It's crazy. Which I'm sure Aragon would not possibly allow. But here we are, the Sex Panther and the Vain Murder Dragon truly don't care.
I mean, I weirdly think this is the only time Aragon would be just all for this, no questions asked. He really did mull over doing some war crimes in Leona before we got here. He decided not to be very clear. But I think if Saphira was not aiming as well as she could with her fire, a little collateral damage, he'd be like, fuck it.
You're not wrong. And maybe Saphira is also remembering that particular conversation you're talking about, because she gets to rip it apart the cathedral.
Yes, this place at least. I don't consider this collateral damage at all. These people are the worst.
Targeted. Yeah, this is amazing. She lets out all of her anger, destroying the entire church in revenge for what the cultists have done to her little bean farmer.
Yes.
It's wild. She even ends up blowing fire inside the cathedral, just barbecuing everything inside. And I'm like, hell yeah, man. Get him.
Yeah.
Thorn finally gets his shit together. He comes back for more, but Saphira gets the best of him again, tricking him into smashing himself into the cathedral by moving at the last. She just jumps out of the way.
Yeah.
He slides into the gaping hole her body made, and Saphira smacks the spire above him right on his ass. And I feel for the guy though. It's a little sad. It when it falls and pushes the emo boys into the burning church and buries them in red hole. It is sad.
Yeah, same. I felt like it's hard because there are enemies. We're supposed to beat them, but something about Thorn just made me deeply sad when he's trying to claw his way out of the cathedral before he gets buried. I was like, do it. You got this. It's like really sad just to watch him like fail epically.
Like just so badly.
Yeah.
It's a straightforward victory here, which I'm really excited about. She doesn't relent. She keeps demolishing the building on top of Thorn. Eventually, the whole structure falls on top of him. I just imagine like Blödhgarm's laughing at this point.
100%.
All in all, what I think is a stroke of genius. Saphira tries to cook the two emo riders alive by heating the rubble that's on top of them so hot they will burn alive. Fortunately for them, it doesn't work before Thorn bursts through with broken wings again. Jax, this whole sequence is amazing because when Thorn finally looks at her with like real anger and hate, Saphira thinks, good, he's not a bitch after all.
Yes, that's right. Good for her.
I was dying laughing at this point. I read it like 4 times. It was hilarious.
She's the best. I mean, she only has one way to be. She commits so hard to all of those character traits, and she's like, get up, challenge me. I dare you.
Finally, you're angry.
Yeah.
We need only Saphira chapters.
Yes.
Unfortunately for everyone, Murtagh, of course, heals Thorn with an Eldenari, and the chapter ends as Saphira takes off to make him chase her as she heads towards Aragon. But before I pass you the baton, I need to talk about our favorite part of this chapter.
Yes.
At some point in the fight, Blödhgarm is just chanting away on her back. And Saphira thinks like, man, this furry is really doing a lot of magic. And I don't really even care. I bet he's just killing people. And I cannot say enough how much I want like more time with these two. They're so vicious. She's like, I don't know what the fuck he's doing, but like kill people, dude. That's cool. It's so cool.
Do you think weirdly she'd be like nosier with Aragon if Aragon's back there doing magic? Like she trusts he's doing the right thing.
Yeah.
But like, do you think she'd be like, now what exactly are you doing? Because is it murder? I'd like it to be murder. But with Blödhgarm, she's like, no need to ask.
Yeah, he's just murking people. Yeah.
It was wild. That does take us to chapter 33, Hammer and Helm. Just judging by the title of this chapter, I think it's going to be some delayed gratification on that whole dragon rider battle cliffhanger thing.
Yeah.
We're with Roran, who is stoked to stop waiting and start killing as the Varden finally signals the advance. We're backtracking a beat in time here because Roran is just seeing Saphira dive into the city for the first time in this chapter.
Okay.
Roran and his soldiers have pulled an all-nighter waiting for the attack, but of course our strong hammer knows that the classic adrenaline and battle fever combo will pull everyone out of their slump as soon as things get started. He's ready to get on the march, and he's chosen who else but Horst, a man who we love. He's great, but he has notably like not been training to focus on his smith. They talked about it a lot. So I'm like, well, I guess trust is worth.
I mean, he bangs metal all day. All he's
yes,
do
he's
is
very
like,
strong, and Roran trusts him, and that's that.
Bang metal on the people.
Yes.
Yeah.
So true. I'm just like, I hope he's prepared for this because I am not prepared to see Horst die. So I was a little scared.
It's
when
just
I saw
interesting.
this.
If you're worried about Horst, I would just imagine you're also worried about Albrecht not being ready, which really, in comparison to Baldur, who's always ready for battle.
Well, yes, because Baldur's been training. Albrecht's been with Horst at the Smith. That's what I said when you were like, they don't bring Albrecht anywhere.
Oh, you did, and I'm just saying maybe he's not.
But that's my same reasoning here. It's like, why are they bringing Horst? They never bring Albrecht anywhere.
Because even they're like, well, Horst could do it. He'll be fine.
I think so. I mean, I'm not mad about it. I love Horst, so like, this is great. But like, especially this is like the first tactical move Roran's making after his promotion, and I'm like, bold choice, bud, bold choice. We digress a bit.
We saw the
so
other,
weird for us.
Hold on, we already saw the elite Carvahalers he brought.
Yeah,
Horst is better than any of them. He's like Mandel,
and Delwyn and another guy.
Was it
Hammond, a man who I refuse to remember. I just am scrubbing it. But Roran's battalion gets on the move, and they can hear the chaos in the city as they approach. And the chapter ends with Stronghammer thinking, Aragon, better get them into the city stat. He's like looking at the walls and the slums, and he's like, this fight is going to be a death sentence if we're not inside the gate immediately. So that's cheerful.
Yeah,
it
ends on a cheery note there. Chapter 34, and the wall fell. Yeah. Well, after that uplifting Roran chapter, we thankfully are with Aragon, and he's heading to the wall with the remaining crew. And he's actually, he is in a cheery mood, just beaming with pride at all the destruction that Saphira is doing to trust Leona.
Perfect.
It's easy going as they run through the city, as the whole city is a little preoccupied with the savage, yet strikingly beautiful, dragon lighting houses on fire and destroying buildings.
Wild.
So Aragon and his team are just running down the streets completely unmolested.
Perfect.
As they approach the the city wall, Aragorn notices a small group of werecats running in cat form on the roofs of the houses, watching their backs. I do find this cool. I know I give the werecats a lot of shit, but I do find this cool.
I like in action, very fun. Conceptually, you have a hard time.
I'm having a hard time.
Being deathly allergic to cats doesn't really help you in this regard. I am a cat owner, so I'm just like, cats.
Oh, cats are hilarious. Yeah, it's like a whole thing I just don't know anything about.
Yeah.
But there's no time to dwell on it as things take a turn for the worse. Aragorn and his strike force spot hundreds of Imperial soldiers standing ready before the gate, which has been barricaded with a huge pile of rubble, presenting a bit of a problem.
Oh, great.
Before Aragorn can come up with a plan, the soldiers spot him and his crew, and Aragorn charges headlong into the soldiers.
I did laugh aloud at that. I was like, my guy, what are you doing? What is this as a plan?
One step forward, two steps backwards. But it becomes apparent that his wards are going to fail under the insane onslaught of arrows, swords, and spears, because duh. And Arya joins him, and they fight back to back, which is adorable. Angela is around somewhere holding off soldiers with tinkle death and exploding vials that cover her enemies in mushrooms.
Amazing.
It is cool.
Yeah.
Despite all their heroic efforts, the soldiers are too numerous, and Arya yells out that they need to retreat. And I have to ask you, who's the coward now, Arya?
I mean, we just made fun of Aragorn's tactical decision for doing this.
I'm totally kidding. This is dumb, and they definitely need to retreat. However, Aragorn gets an idea. He's going to use the ring he's been saving for Galbatorix, the one his father Brom poured his life energy into for decades, to push back all the stones barricading the city. It's giving that time he pushed the 12 Urgles back into the trees in the first book. And
so true.
that worked out great.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, but there's too much going on, Jax. There's no time to think about the plan.
Yes.
He needs to do something.
Yes, think without thinking, Dane. Be the moment, Erica. You are the moment, girl.
Yes, this is the way of the warrior. The immense power of Arryn surges through Aragorn's body, far more energy than he has ever used before at one time. The pile of rubble is catapulted away from the city gates, shredding Thorn's wings. Thorn's wings are just having a bad day.
I know.
Killing tons of soldiers and just absolutely fucking up the gate. It almost immediately goes awry, though, as the rebel shoots into the city.
Whoops.
So in order to save all the innocent people of Dras Leona, Aragorn pushes the rebel into the ever-present Leona Lake.
That is nice. When push comes to shove, he's like, I will not do a war crime, and I will put my energy on the line. I will put my magical energy where the side of the Geneva Convention is, and I will get this rubble out of the city.
Yeah, it is good, but it does cost him every drop of Brom's energy, which raises the question, would Brom approve of this use of his several decades of collected life force?
Dude. I feel like I'm torn because on the one hand, it does technically get the job done, and it's hard to fault him for that.
Yes, he does get it done.
This works. We have yelled at Aragorn in the past for not using the ring, so
true.
There's that. The collateral damage to Thorn also, I think, has a certain tricksy je ne sais quoi that I think Brom would kind of appreciate. He's like, to a dragon and a pile of rebel with one stone. Good. But I do think I'm going to have to go with my gut on this one. Because since it's Brom, I think Aragorn would be getting the ass ripping to end all other ass rippings for this one. It was too similar to the Urgle thing. I think after you said that, I was like, Brom would be.
He'd be like, you learned nothing.
so pissed.
Interestingly, I think I agree with you, but the gates are open at this part, and regardless of Brom's thoughts, he's dead. The Vardens charge in to rout the enemy soldiers with the aid of Saphira.
Yeah.
At some point in the melee, Arya has 20 soldiers who essentially dogpile on top of her, and Aragorn rushes to her aid. After being freed, she gracefully tells him that she had it covered, all right? Which should be pretty normal, but the way it's written here seems like they're flirting now, and it's like, what?
Yeah, I think I remember reading somewhere in an interview, Christopher Paolini had said, there's basically a bunch of cutscenes from this book specifically where Aragorn and Arya were flirting, and he said he took them out because they just weren't working. There's something about them that felt weird, so I wonder if that's exactly what you're feeling here. This made it in as a holdover from that whole thing.
They just didn't catch this one. I don't know. It's really weird. It's not working for me.
No.
But there's no time because there's a war going on. And just as one major crisis is averted and things are looking good, Murtagh flies above and shuts down to his brother to threaten Aragorn before flying away, ending the chapter with Murtagh getting away unscathed yet again.
Bit of a mixed bag. It's they won. They probably took the city, but
At what cost?
At what cost? That takes us to chapter 35, By the Banks of Lake Leona.
Of course.
Yes. And we fade back in at the post-battle debrief. We're with Aragon, Queen President, and all the War Council VIPs, basically, as they take stock of their new position and update Islan Zadi that Dros Leona has fallen. And I think I'm about to out myself as an idiot, but... Here we go. I was really surprised when Islan Zadi, like, when they brought her up and had to, like, radio over to her. It could be the slower pace at which we, like, read these to write the podcast, but I totally forgot that the elves were not yet with the main army. I forgot they're still just, like, trekking down from Gilead.
Did you not hear the war update?
I don't know. I did. I paid such close attention. I edited that. I don't know. That is how dumb I am, though. I was just like, wait, what? They're still out there? Anyway.
Well, I do say a lot, so you were probably like, I don't know, whatever.
So true. An affliction we share. Aragon is very crabby, though, in spite of the army's victory, mostly because Weirden's death has been a real blow to his sense of security. So as he leaves the conference room, Aragon's described as like stalking the camp and hunting for Elva, which struck me as very dark.
It's
like,
very weird.
Especially when I had such high hopes for like a nice tranquil chapter based on the title, like Leona. But he finds the witch baby sitting with Greta, and I'm really glad to see. I feel like those two have apparently made up because Greta, Aragon says Greta looks happy with Elva. And I'm like, that's nice. Elva, however, calls Aragon over because, of course, she already knows he's coming. She also already knows that Aragon is about to rip her a new one, but you know he's going to do it anyway.
Yeah, this was strange. This whole thing's strange, man.
Yes, he is livid that she didn't come with him to the city because she could have warned them about all the traps in the tunnels. And I have to say, it's a ruthless line of argument from Aragon. He pulls no punches to the point that he makes Elva cry and he makes her apologize. And he's only like a little sad afterwards that that's what he did. Ugh. I mean, he is sad, but like, he's like, ooh, that sucked. But
well, I mean,
only a tiny bit.
He did yell at the baby.
Yes.
Yeah.
Saphira thinks afterwards that like this may have worked to win Elva's active involvement in the war. And I just can't help but remembering we are still talking about a literal baby, a creepy and cursed baby, sure, but a baby is now committed to fighting in this war.
I don't know. I gotta say, I don't know how I feel about this. It seems yucky.
Yeah, as a person with a child. I mean, we record these at your house, and you're like, beautiful boy is upstairs, and I'm just like,
It's like reading outside the sun right now. And I'm just like, I don't know if this is a good thing, man.
It's hard to square that circle, like, with it in your face like that.
And
but
also, like, I mean, sorry, we didn't. No. I'm digressing here, but also, aren't there like tons of people dying in this war all the time?
All the time.
And this is the only time he's been upset. I don't know.
I wouldn't say it's the only time he's been upset. I don't know that that's fair, but he is like very moved by this particular death in a way that I'm like, didn't we just give this guy a name last?
Yeah. Well, and also it's just like, well, just because it happened to your friends, Aragon, like, you know what I mean? And also,
it does feel very much like that. And I think it might be the whole combination of circumstances here that like they were surprised. It was so shitty in those tunnels. Like, he just faced a really horrific experience. No question about that. And then Murtagh and Thorn still got away. So he's not feeling good about this.
Her.
Yeah. He's not feeling good about this as a victory. And I think you have to imagine that puts Aragon in the headspace of like, where are we going to go from here? I keep losing at things like this. Like, I keep not having clear victories, and I can't put like a piece on the board that I see in front of me. I think that's all he is thinking here. It is still a tough look though, but I think headspace wise, I can kind of understand him.
Yeah, the insecurities of one man taking out a child though is wild to me.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I get what you're saying.
Totally agree. I think it's written uncomfortably. I don't think
it's written as like Aragon doing a good thing.
Yeah, like we always say with Elva, it makes us uncomfortable. The writing here is pointing out like how many things are wrong with this situation, stemming back to that original like mistake you can't fix kind of idea.
It's like also because it's like still your fault though, Aragon.
Yeah,
because you made her.
Yes.
So like at the end of the day.
Yes, so true. But before we leave another macabre Elva episode, honorable mention in this section for two perfect dads Aragon thinks about, Garrow and Braum, and their apparently perfect ass rippings, because Aragon feels like he's finally leveled up to match them, which I'm like, what a wild note to wrap that up on.
Nothing like passing down generational trauma to lift the spirits at the end of a weird...
I'm just like, dude,
anything.
Okay, that's where we'll leave that. We smash cut over to Eragon's thoughts, catching us up on everything that's happened since the end of the fighting, which he does by way of analyzing Neswata's war tactics. Martland Redbeard has been given command of Leona because Queen President wants to get the fuck out of here right now. And I don't blame her. They've also searched in vain for everyone's favorite braided belt and had an ethereal elven funeral for Weirden. And at this point, I'm beginning to wonder if like he's been the main character all along, with how much screen time they spend like describing the funeral.
Yeah,
and, like,
I mean, Carr didn't get like half as much love after his death.
No, dude, only from us,
Yeah.
notably. Listen after the credits for that.
Seriously.
But Weirden's nature funeral encourages Eragon to come up with his own set of end-of-life directives, so at least we're prepared queens now. Can't fault him for that. And before we catch up to the present timeline again, because he's walking around like reminiscing, Eragon also mentions, as a quick aside, that he got Neswata's permission to free all the slaves in Leona. So that's good. Seriously mixed bag for Eragon here.
Yeah. It's like yell at a baby, free some slaves.
I don't know how to draw a conclusion from all of that.
Yeah.
We're back with Eragon approaching his tent, too excited for my taste to see that Arya is waiting for him. They joke about how hilarious it is that they're both nicknamed Shade Slayer Dane. And I remember being confused by the flip-flopping of their chemistry and relationship plotline the whole time I read the series the first time, which may be something Christopher Paolini struggled to nail down as well. I think that's what I'm like kind of thinking as I read these interviews with him.
Yeah.
But I have to say, as an older adult, I feel like I'm finding their ship just like downright off-putting. I just do not like it. But we are with them for the time being, as Arya explains that she isn't technically a princess like the simple humans have. That's not really how it works. She might not be queen. And she brought like Weirden's stash of liquor with her for them to drink. Eragon's worried that his dead dragon soul might be a nosy chaperone for this little date, but he throws caution to the wind because he's had a sad, violent day, and drinking with his crush is apparently the answer. They get pretty drunk pretty quickly, and the whole vibe in this scene is very flirty, with them touching hands and Eragon staring longingly at her lips and her scars, and like,
I don't know, the Sex Panther healed her. Like, think they like secretly have their own romance going on? I mean, it makes more sense than Eragon and her.
I mean,
and maybe Eragon's too big of a goof to notice.
No, Arya, I feel like just
Blödhgarm's leaving her
immediate
tent.
first read, too much of a prude.
That's true.
That'll have to be something a thread we hopefully don't pick up another time, because while they're talking, and I cannot make this shit up, Dane, Weirden's secret fail nerve recipe that they've been talking about turns out to be, drumroll please, drugs. We're on drugs.
Oh.
It's drugs.
It's drugs.
Yeah. And as they lean into their trip, they're treated to like a sick reed flute solo from elsewhere in the camp, which crescendos manically, causing Arya to hop up and bust a move. It is a wild swing in this chapter, but Eragon is as mesmerized as ever by her. The music, the drugs, the whole surviving a war of it all. He's like, on one. Mesmerized right up until the second his Gedwe Ignacia starts itching, which presages the massive dragon roar that ends this chapter on a cliffhanger.
Well, we don't have to wait on the cliff too long, because it's chapter 36, the word of a writer. Eragon has to run, because obviously Thorn is attacking.
Bad, yes.
And you gotta run when dragons are attacking you.
Yes,
I think
that's
that's Dragon Attack 101.
Yes.
However, Eragon instantly falls because drugs.
Yeah.
And we've all been there, bud. Sometimes you don't know how drunk you are until you stand up.
So true.
So Saphira comes to help him, but she's confused about what's going on with Eragon and seems a little fucked up as well. She
Amazing.
crashes into their tent
Dude.
because she's got a second-hand high. And that's the danger of drugs, children.
Just say no.
Just say no. Thorn lands outside Nasawata's tent, supporting an airlift team of Imperial soldiers, and the Nighthawks pretty quickly engage them in combat. It is a little sad here because it sounds like Thorn pretty much just instantly mauls the Nighthawks.
Oh, yeah. All the ones on duty are
there really
worse for wear.
There isn't really much of a chance here.
Yeah.
If a dragon wants you, they're going to get you.
So true.
Even a Kirkland signature dragon like Thorn.
Not the Hoff-brand Thorn. He's made in the same factory, Dane.
Yeah.
Everybody knows
I
that.
don't know. He looks different. Everyone gets wild because apparently this surprise attack includes a simultaneous barrage on the camp's perimeter. And I don't know how this is happening. What about the Elva early detection alarm system?
That's so true. I didn't even think about that.
We just hooked it back up.
Yeah. We just plugged our Simply Safe back in.
Yeah, what the fuck? And also, we're sponsored by Simply Safe. If you want to be safe in your house.
We are not.
I'm just kidding. We're not. Don't come at us.
Don't
Simply
give them
Safe.
free advertising, Dane.
Yes. All is chaos, and Aragorn is losing it on this drug. He finally finds his feet, gets to Arya, where they stand shoulder to shoulder, swords drawn again.
Yes.
This is a repeating theme
You know,
that's
it's
happening.
funny because as much as I don't like them together, I love to watch them fight together. I think I just like any like buddy battle.
They're
like,
good friends.
Yes,
Yeah.
they'd be great friends.
Saphira finally gets it together, too, and knocks down some soldiers, heading for her new BFF, Blödhgarm, and the King's Dozen.
The what now?
So, okay, hear me out. We've been struggling on what to call these elven bodyguards.
Yeah.
So I have an idea.
Okay.
You know how a baker's dozen is when you get a bonus donut?
Yes.
Well, with one elf having just been killed by the Empire, this is a Galbatorix special. Galbatorix doesn't give a bonus. He takes one for himself. So it's 11.
Stop.
The King's Dozen. We finally found a name. Or maybe the
That's
Colt's
it?
Dozen? The Colt's Dozen? I don't know. There's something here. Anyway, the elves come and kill the Empire soldiers so our high and weird lovebirds don't get murdered in their drug haze.
This is exactly what my dare officer warned me about.
It's true. This is what Nancy Reagan wanted to protect us from. Angela's here with another fun and unique weapon.
Yeah.
A 3-foot wool comb.
So wild.
Remember, she knits.
Yeah,
It's
of course.
kooky and it's
That's her.
whimsical. And anyway, she just straight up killing soldiers with this improvised weapon.
Yes.
And if that wasn't enough, a pack of wereguts comes to her aid to maul some soldiers
yeah,
to
they
death.
do.
The visual's fun
Yeah.
here. I liked it. Aragorn is truly too high to understand what's going on with the crazy visual, which is a shame. He's kind of useless right now. So
Yeah.
Arya clears his highness with magic.
Dude.
I hope Disney Plus keeps that in the show.
Keep the hallucinogens, you coward. The children need to know. It's fun, but it has consequences.
Well, regardless, this hangover magic is a handy trick. This is the type of thing you can charge for. I know the lace making racket is producing profits for the Varden right now,
Yeah.
but you can always diversify your portfolio with a hangover cure.
Dude,
This would sell like gangbusters.
so true. Can you imagine if Helen caught wind of this?
Oh my gosh.
If we got Helen to monetize it?
Helen probably knows. She's probably producing a line.
I would hope so.
Yeah. Anyway, Aragorn is now clear to drive Saphira, and he finally gets serious. Glader links up, as does the Colt's Dozen.
Yeah.
And they send Arya to grab the Doth Dart because they are done with this bullshit. Murtek has gone too far. They're
I
going
was
to...
so scared.
Yeah, they're going to kill Thorn.
Eesh.
No more games.
Dude.
Saphira heads towards Thorn, and the fight is on. And this whole scene is very chaotic. Aragorn, ever the cool dude, instantly falls off Saphira in combat because there is no saddle. Auric, though, saves the day because in my favorite moment, he shows up shirtless, running through the
Yes.
fire. He's got like a warhammer.
Hell yeah. I was so amped when I saw Auric. I was like, get him, get him.
Fucking
Everybody's
cool.
here.
It's so cool. Arya is running around somewhere with the Lance of Death. Nargashvog shows up, and it's just
Yeah.
bare-handedly tearing soldiers'
Dude.
limbs off.
Yes, I would read an entire book of Nargashvog battle scenes. Like, we barely got a glimmer here, and I feel robbed. He was so cool. I'm just like, everybody's at our birthday party.
Yeah, I could agree more. I need more of the bra.
Yeah.
Elva is sitting in front of a dozen soldiers, talking to them and basically driving them all insane, which is super creepy, but also really fun. And this is what we all wanted to see from her, right, guys? I mean, on the one hand, this is a big T trauma moment for Elva.
Yeah, it'd be really tough.
Yeah,
really
talking
tough.
men into killing themselves in front of her at the tender age of 2, for sure.
Pretty bad,
I
pretty
very
bad.
much believe it would scar her.
Uh-huh.
On the other hand, this scene is entirely, like, fun. It's a fun read. And we finally get her using her fun little power. Look, Elva's going to be fine. When she's older, she'll just need some therapy. It's like caffeine addiction, maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
A good yoga habit. Maybe a like chronic late night eBay addiction. Some cozy Uggs. She'll be all right. Right as rain. Sure of it.
It's rain. What could go wrong?
Yeah. Anyway, in all the chaos, Aragorn finally makes his way to Nasawada's tent, but it looks like he's too late. It's looking very bad for Queen President because she's about to be captured by our emo boy.
No.
Aragorn begins to think they might actually have to kill Thorin, like before he was joking, and Glader's all about it because he wants revenge.
Yeah, he does.
And I've got to say, as someone who loves revenge, I'm a little bummed about Aragorn's response here. He's less than enthused. Apparently, when it's other people's urge for vengeance, Aragorn gets a little too sensitive.
You know,
I'm a little confused.
the kids are lacking grit these days, Dane. They don't know when to bear down.
Yeah, seriously. Anyway, Glader pushes him to kill, but ultimately,
Amazing.
it's all too little too late. Murtagh has somehow captured Nasawada, and he's able to gain, like, then get to, like, Thorn and just get picked up by his claws. It's a very cool exit, by the way. It's very metal. But,
Yeah,
like,
of
how?
course it is.
I don't
It's
know.
fucking terrifying.
Yeah, but just as I was, like, getting jacked on how cool Murtagh's exit is,
Yes.
Arya outcools him, jumps up as Thorn, like,
That's right.
passes by, grabs his tail, and she starts climbing up Thorn as he
Yes.
flies away. And she's climbing up his tail using the fucking doth
Oh,
dart
yeah.
to, like, stab him and, like, climb up his body. It's insane.
Dude, yes. I am really about to show my ass twice in this episode, but for some reason, like, I thought Thorn was done for when that happened. Like, for some reason, got the impression that, like, the doth dart was, like, magically poisoned. I was fully convinced by some headcanon that I entirely invented that, like, as soon as it scratched you, you're done. That's it. And I was like, Thorn's dead.
Both of these things I did a deep dive on, but it's fine. It's fine. I love it. Thorn apparently not liking being stabbed. Death spirals down towards the earth to remove her, and it's pretty effective. She flies right the fuck off and uses her magic to slowly hover to the ground to protect herself from, like, being crushed on the floor.
Sketch.
But Thorn turns around to finish her with fire, and then tail fucking swipes her, which slams her right to the ground. And I thought she died here on the first read. I was, like, shocked. I was like, holy shit. Aragon is with me on that, absolutely losing it. They're diving after her. She's going super fast.
Yeah.
And he also flew up to, like, he also flew up to get to Thorn.
Yes.
Albeit in a much less cool way.
So true.
But now I guess the red dragon is going to get away again. So Saphira is the true hero, though. She dives bomb to get Arya, which I was so glad to see. We can't kill the second coolest character.
The second coolest character?
I mean, Murtagh's cooler than her, but you can't.
But her exit was cooler than Murtagh's exit.
I know. What can I say? He got his girl, though. And that's pretty much it. This chapter ends with Aragon basically just feeling hopeless about the victory now that Nasawada has gone. It's a bit of a downer.
It's not great. Not great. It does take us to chapter 37, Conclave of Kings.
Ooh.
This chapter opens as Saphira lands back in the Vardens camp with Arya shakily waking up and Aragon having to tell her that Murtagh and Thorn did in fact get away with Nasawada. Arya shakes the news off along with any insinuation she might be injured from that whole swatted out of midair by a dragon episode.
Yeah, what was with that?
She was just like, I'm fine. I was like, okay.
Also, can I just point out, we did have the big hands moment with Aragon. He really did miss a moment to be like, hey, are you okay?
Yeah.
Are you all right?
I mean,
Let me help you up. Like,
yes, so true. She was just like, I'm good. And I was like, I believe her.
Yeah.
But before they have time to start untangling the Gordian knot of what the fuck they're all supposed to do without Nasawada, they're set upon by some of Gal's soldiers still, like, rampaging about the camp. But after killing them, Aragon goes to help Blödhgarm and his killer queens dispatch Gal's very last spellcaster with, like, a classic boo bitch maneuver. I loved it. And as Aragon and his death squad take a lap to kill any stragglers and start putting the camp to rights, Aragon is starting to get pretty overwhelmed with existential dread, which I think is fair considering what a shit show this whole day has been. This is still the same day they snuck into the tunnel.
Well, this is where drugs will take you.
So true. Glader chimes in to Aragon's like spiraling despair to add a helpful, I told you should have killed that red asshole when he had a chance.
Yep.
And Aragon does double down on why he hesitated. And while I totally agree that it feels real bad to contemplate killing one of the only remaining dragons, I think on this podcast, from having talked about it, we stand firmly with Glader here. Like, this would have solved, I think, like a lot of downstream problems that if they could have just murked Thorn here.
It's time. You know? The big red bastard needs to go.
And I'm the one who's so sad to watch Thorn struggle, but I'm just like, dude, you're on the side of the good guys.
I have no mercy.
It would have. We know.
He's working with Gal.
So true.
He's an evil dragon. I don't know anything about him, but I don't like it.
No.
I don't like. And also, it is sad. He just keeps getting his ass kicked.
He really does, but then they're ultimately victorious every time anyway.
I don't know.
But the little spat they have over whether or not to kill Thorn drives Glader back into seclusion for the time being. But Aragon doesn't have time to dwell on that because Roran runs up to him, confirming that he and Katrina aren't hurt, which is good, and wondering why the camp is in like utter fucking disarray. Yeah. Aragon tells his brother cousin about the abduction of their sovereign, no big deal, and asks Roran to stay with him while they find the war council and like figure out what everybody's gonna do.
Yeah, but 'tis Nepotism strikes again.
Yes, Roran's invited to the big guys meeting now. So they all end up at Oryx's pavilion, and we are off to the races immediately upon arrival, with Jormungandr telling everyone that Niswata's plan was to have Aragon assume command. We know this, so they have no other choice. That's just what they're going to do.
Yeah.
So I guess HBO wouldn't really have had much to work with if this were like, if they were trying to make Succession in Alagaesia. It's pretty cut and dried. And at least one of the people in charge does not suffer from the curse of generational wealth. So it's just a different show. It's really a shame, because otherwise I might have watched that. But all of our favorite warmongers are here, looking like the badasses that they are after this battle. But I want to give a special shout out to Oryx, who must look metal as fuck. He's just like thrown on like a male shirt. Like I picture like a chainmail tank top over his bare chest. I'm just like, what a move, dude. What a fashion icon.
That's not even the first time we've said he's a fashion icon either. He is
just
the
true.
coolest
His coronation
looking dude.
Outfit was something else.
I bet he like braided his hair last minute too,
100%.
so he just looks gnarly.
Yeah, he looks fucking wild. But I guess that is not why we're here, sadly.
Okay.
Arya has finessed this meeting, basically, so we finally see a little bit of her diplomatic prowess, I think, for the first time. She's finessed this meeting to swing in Aragon's direction without too much backlash, and for the most part, it's all going according to plan. That is, of course, with the notable exception of Dark Oren, who's proving to be more adept at political maneuvering than I think I gave him credit for at first. I think we've already compared Oren to like W and Jeb. But here's where I'm getting a much more like diplomatically competent but ultimately destabilizing vibe, like a la Dad Bush, HW. I think we were on the right track before, but like we didn't make it far enough up the family tree, Dane. I think what we meant was H-Dub.
That's so funny.
But Oren's accusations rile up our sweet bean farmer, and I was pretty impressed by the way Aragon put the beat down on the king's insinuation that Aragon would not act in the best interest of all races when push comes to shove. Yeah. But it's ultimately Oryx who does his boy a solid by literally bringing the hammer down and getting this meeting back on track. He makes the salient point that they're just a bit too deep into this whole war on the Empire thing to do anything except press on to Urbane, and Arya and Garshvog agree immediately.
Basically, he's outnumbered.
Yes.
They give the allies of Aragon give Oren no room.
Yes.
Because I think he is good at it, so they just like can't even allow the conversation to continue.
Yeah. And it is tough to see him still like pull rank and like almost derail this whole thing, even though he is like a coalition of one.
So it takes 3 of our best boys, Oren, Arya, and Oryx, to like get it back on track.
Yeah, or Oryx, Arya, and Garshvog.
Yes,
get it back track
Garshvog.
against
Oren
Oryx is
sorry.
Oren Roran too is fun.
Rural juror.
Yes. So following all of this, Roran takes the opportune moment to finally chime in and play the part of common soldier, basically represent the opinion of the common man, saying that after all the death, destruction, and bloodshed, they better be fucking heading to kill Gal after everything he's been through.
Yeah.
It'd be a real problem if they aren't going to go kill the king. And if Oren or anyone else is going to bitch out, Roran will go by himself. And I think everyone in that room is with me when I say I don't doubt for a second that Roran would absolutely do that shit.
Yeah, I'm going.
Yes, it's a classic Stronghammer speech, and the chapter ends with a perfectly rousing Tolkiensian, like, you have my sword and my bow and my axe moment. I loved it. I mean, the haughty disdain of like King Cat and the angry, drunken resignation of Oren put like a bit of a damper on the kumbaya, but fuck it, let's go.
Let's do it.
We're gonna do it.
Well, that takes us to chapter 38, A Maze Without End. And this chapter starts with King President.
Sorry.
I'm just so...
Dragon Wizard President?
Yeah.
King Bean Farm?
The Bean President.
Bean President.
He's a rutabaga Aragon's getting a bit of a crash course from Jormungandr on how to manage the council now that he's in charge.
Okay.
Once he's got the lowdown and everyone leaves him,
Yeah.
Aragon cuddles with Saphira
Nice.
and continues spiraling a little bit here.
Just a bit.
Yeah. At first, he's pretty shocked and overwhelmed. He is a bean farmer.
So true.
A Kevin.
Oh, so true.
A man who once tried to sell a rock from the forest for some meat at the butcher.
It's just a weird rock.
Yeah, he is essentially a president, and on top of that, the leader of the rebellion. That quickly turns into
active rebellion.
Yes,
warring rebellion.
Quickly turns into comparing himself to Nasawada and his other peers, which
Never would do it.
Nope, don't do that, bud. Which leads him to meditation because he's losing it. He realizes he's losing it.
Yeah.
Eventually, he meditates himself into his waking dreams.
Cool.
They offer no respite.
Oh, no.
As his dreams yet turn again to what I have to assume at this point is like some, I don't know, magic or prophetic dreams because it's the same dream we've had since the first book.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, the
Popping
vision
up again.
Yeah,
Run it back.
It's like every book I think it's coming
Yeah.
up. The vision is very similar to before. We see a dark, lonely plain with a slow-moving river, a ship, a procession of soldiers, two cloaked figures, a cry into the sky. What is this? What do you think Paolini is trying to do with these visions? I have no idea.
I mean, yeah, we said from the beginning this one is maybe prophetic, but then so many other dreams in the series have proven to be like kind of just nightmares.
Yeah,
It's hard to parse out.
After waking up crying,
Sad.
I'll leave that with you. Aragon has. Sorry, I don't even know why.
I was like, what?
He can cry.
Yeah.
Aragon has to his tent. I felt bad about it. I was trying to make a joke, and I'm like, "That's bad, Dane. That's toxic masculinity."
Yes. Good for you for checking that impulse. I'm proud of you.
I'm growing.
Hell
all right?
yeah.
Aragon heads to his tent where Garvin is standing guard.
Yes.
And apparently his life isn't ruined.
Oh my God.
Maybe he's like a little out of it, but the man is functioning now.
Yes.
Which is something. Justice for Garvin.
Yes. We finally got it. I do not know why we're so fixated on Garvin, but we really don't have another way to be. So I'm not kidding in the slightest when I say, like, I haven't been this relieved in a long time.
I feel better.
Yeah, I really do. Good for fucking that guy.
Yeah, Aragon goes right back to spiraling once he's in his
Oh,
tent. It's
okay.
not great.
Well-
There's some classic pacing, some unhelpful thought processes, and frankly, just a good old-fashioned panic attack.
Yep.
At some point, he despairs, so he's really thinking hard.
Yeah.
He starts to pray,
Oof.
maybe find faith in Papa Guntera.
To Guntera?
Yes, Sindri would not be pleased if this human failed to pray to the dirt mommy.
Yes, our dirt mother is vindictive if we know anything about her.
He needs to show her the respect she deserves. He's doing her dirty, if you will. Anyway, this really does go on for pages, but would you know it, he thinks of what our wise old cat friend told him all those years ago in this first book. Remember, Jacqui? We were bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and had no idea what this podcast would do to our mental health. Remember that?
Yeah, mistakes have maybe been made, but
Not dwell on that.
No.
He remembers the often quoted bit I have said 1,000,000 times on this pod, but I will do so once again. Listen closely, and I will tell you two things. When the time comes and you need a weapon, look under the roots of the Manoa tree. Then, when all seems lost and your powers are insufficient, go to the rock of Kuthian.
Yes.
Speak your name to open the vault of soul.
yes.
So this seems like an appropriate time, right?
Yeah, things seem pretty bad.
All seems lost to Aragon.
Yep.
Time to get to figuring out what the hell the Rock of Kuthian is.
Yes.
So this chapter ends as Aragon summons Solomon to finally unravel the mystery.
Yes, I like that he's been like linked back up with Solomon like
Yeah.
for most of this war, and this is the first time he's like, I guess I'll ask him about that whole prophecy thing.
Well, the prophecy said when all seemed lost, and it didn't seem lost at that time.
So true. It does take us to chapter 39, Fragments, Half Seen and Indistinct. I like that
Ooh.
chapter title.
That's pretty cool.
So this chapter kicks off very on brand for Solomon as he takes his sweet ass time to get to Aragon's tent when he finally rolls through and deigns to talk to the King Dragon Wizard President. He's like, what do you want? Aragon asks immediately where this rocky vault is and how he can get inside it. And the stakes are high. This is dire. We cannot wait to get this solution. And Solomon has no fucking clue. No idea. Aragon's pissed and rightly like confused as hell how he couldn't know any more about this. And the only explanation Solomon can offer is that some probably benevolent presence gave the entire werecat race that prophecy to pass on to the next free rider. It's almost certainly benevolent, right? That's got to be a good guy thing to do.
Yeah.
Aragon does not love this line of reasoning. He's like, it seems sketchy as hell. And even Solomon admits that the werecats themselves aren't thrilled about the idea of something like having tampered with their memories like this. But these are the facts on the ground, and Aragon, like us, is going to need to accept them and keep it moving.
It's the way of the warrior.
It really is. The only other help Solomon can give is that another feeling came over him when he met Aragon, and he arranged for Jode to give our bean farmer Domia Aberwirda, the history book he like painstakingly reads in the spare time he doesn't have.
Yeah.
So maybe the answer's there, maybe? Aragorn is again pissed that Solomon had never told him about the book, and he is pretty hopeless that, like, at the pace he reads, he'll be able to find any mention of what he needs before it's too late. It's really sad. He really starts to get, like, riled up. He's, like, yelling at Solomon that this, like, help he's giving, strong scare quotes, is just a bunch of bullshit. But the cat, like, must know more. And when the werecat pulls a move that reminded me so much of Professor Trelawney in Harry Potter, I jumped. I was like, oh, it's happening. He just goes blank in the brain and in the face and tells Aragorn exactly where to look in the book, and then has no memory of having said any of it.
I love this. I laughed so fucking hard here. Aragorn's like, what does this mean, cat? And Solomon's like, what do you mean? What does it mean? It means read the fucking book. It's incredible for all his learning, for all of his teachers. Sometimes like, Kevin's gonna Kev, you know? I mean, good thing this cat is fucking here. Our boy would be like, what does it mean? Anyway, I guess.
Page 374. What do you mean? What am I supposed to do?
Oh my God. I was like, what do you mean? And even Solomon's like, what do you mean?
Just read it.
Just read the book.
So
I'm so sorry for interrupting.
But
true. Like, I had
so
to.
Funny. You're bursting.
I was bursting with that.
I did love that too, because this fucking farmer had actually started this chapter before. He like opens up to the page and he's like, oh, I kind of remember this, but he decided it was too boring before, so he just stopped reading it. And I'm just like, Aragorn, you ignorant little baby. I love you, but like, what? The section in question is a description of the island of Rowengard and the city of Doru Araba, which, remember, used to be the dragon rider like vacation destination to rule them all, but now is a steaming pile of shit after Gal's genocide. That whole place. Aragorn also tries, I laughed really hard at this, he tries 2 different times to give up reading this book that he was divinely given to solve his problems. But thank fucking God again for this cat and his bored pep talks, because 4 or 5 pages later, we finally get the Rock of Cuthien drop we have all been waiting for. It, of course, lies at the writer's former hub of power, and this chapter ends as Aragorn starts to consider the magnitude of the ramifications of the fact that someone is very clearly pulling the strings behind the scenes to get him to this place. It's like so scary.
This is just so funny. Like, no, keep reading.
It couldn't be. He like it's like written in the book. He reads like 3 paragraphs and he's like, I don't see it. And Solomon's like, read the book. And he reads some more. He's like, it's not here. I'm sure it's not here.
I was dying.
It is so perfect. I feel like we see Aragorn grow up so much, and sometimes still I'm like, yes, that is something my teenage nephew would do. This is a conversation I would have to talk to him about.
Well, that takes us to chapter 40. Questions unanswered. Aragorn scours the book for more Rock of Cuthien clues.
He's hooked.
But it's slim pickings. Oh. He then tries to brainstorm with Solomon, but our cat friend is so over this.
I mean,
he's
cats.
got cat shit to do.
Cats, am I right?
Yeah, he's got to go. But before he leaves, Solomon does disdain to drop 2 bombs.
So kind of him.
Yeah, first, if this is a trap, the Varden might as well pack up and go home.
Yeah.
If someone can trick and manipulate a whole race of werecats, what chance does a teen with questionable reading abilities actually have? You know what I mean?
So true.
I'm with Solomon on this one. Let's hope it's not a trap. Our bead farmer is going to get got.
Yeah.
Second, he leaves us with this quote before heading out. I feel like I quote Solomon the most.
I love that for you.
Yeah, the guy who notably doesn't like cats.
Yes.
Here we go. There are many strange forces at work in Alagaesia, Shadeslayer. I have seen things that defy belief. Whirlwinds of light spinning in caverns deep below the ground. Men who age backwards. Stones that speak. And shadows that creep. Rooms that are bigger on the inside than on the outside. Galbatorix is not the only power in the world to be reckoned with, and he may not even be the strongest. Choose carefully, Shadeslayer, and if you choose to go, walk softly. It's cool and all.
It's really cool.
It's really cool. But like Angel's Antics, it's more fluff than substance, and I have to say it's beginning to be a little bit... It's starting to stack up where I'm like, okay, cool. That is all cool. But it does add to the magic that makes this series so beloved. So
yeah, I feel like it's Christopher Paolini giving us hints of like worlds beyond Alagaesia, which in the final book of a saga, it's like, well, do we have time for any of that? And it's like, no. But are you going to write more if Murtagh is any indication? Yeah. Yes. It is notably one of his couple of references in these books to Doctor Who, to like the Time Lord.
Oh, is that?
Yeah, the room that's bigger on the inside. People think the man who ages backwards is a reference to that, powers other than Galbatorix. So I'm like,
I thought it was just Benjamin Button reference. There's a Brad Pitt
A
somewhere.
classic Benjamin Button.
Saphira.
All of our references are 40 years old.
Oh, yeah, we're old. Saphira, being the braids of the outfit, wants to consult with Arya and Glader
Yes.
before they make any hasty decisions.
Yes.
Turns out both their minds have been tampered with, too.
Yeah.
They can't remember a thing about the Rock of Kuthien. Aragon and Saphira try to explain it repeatedly, but it keeps slipping from their memories, and it's very eerie. And as a kid, this gave me serious chills.
Yeah.
Paolini, as always, nails the creepy factor. They come to the conclusion that everyone in Alagaesia is affected except for them. So who could be behind this? As a kid, I had all sorts of theories.
Yeah?
Yeah,
What was one of your top, do you think?
I thought it might be another elf thing.
Okay.
Like, as a kid, all the elves have kind of been the secrets of most of this stuff.
Yeah.
So I kind of thought this was like a Aragon the First thing for some reason.
That makes a lot of sense. That's a cool tie, because then it starts stacking into, or like wrapping up into this prophecy, like the man named Aragon.
Yes.
When Aragon comes again, the first Aragon rider.
The
I
dragon
like that.
reborn,
Yeah,
if you will. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Aragon decides to tell Arya and Glader the truth using the ancient language. Arya believes him, but Glader remains skeptical. They summon Solembum back to the
Yes.
tent, and he is less than thrilled.
Not happy.
And I love his entrance, though. Kid form, munching on roast goose, shirtless, and greasy. This is so funny.
That's right. He's just like dripping.
Just like dripping. And I think
So
his hair
gross.
is described as just like wild. Anyway,
yeah.
Glader then basically invades its mind, which is not cool.
No, it's pretty bad.
It is not great. Solembum is understandably furious, and despite Glader's apology, he storms out after threatening a little bit of murder.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, but with Solembum's memories and a little safe word trickery,
Okay.
Glader comes around and believes them. It's settled the only dragon rider and the leader of the Varden during their campaign against an overwhelming power is leaving for unknown reasons based on the words of a cat.
That's so true.
And this book really does have it all. Off to Rowan we go.
Dude, yes, I do. I feel the same as you. Like, I remember being so spooked by just like the constant, like, why doesn't anybody remember this? And I think after like Glader was so hesitant, like there are pages and pages and pages of his reticence and like him trying to figure out like a workaround basically to hold on to his memory of this. I think that left me like as a kid, even on this reread a little bit, I was like, is this a trap? Is this Galbatorix? This is pretty bad. Pretty bad.
Also, I love on this book that we say as a kid, we were like 19.
That's so true. So
we were
true.
like, you
19.
were like 17, 18.
I was 18. I was in college. But
hilarious though.
yeah.
Sorry.
As a
I just
small
asked it.
child. Well, I was thinking, it is funny because I'm like, I think I'm just so fundamentally like pessimistic so much of the time that I'm like, this is bad. Gotta be bad. I know it's a bad thing.
You were like,
I always think that.
They're all
books.
going to die.
Yes. That does take us to chapter 41, Departure. And now we get an errands chapter.
Yay.
Aragon is truly an avatar for the girlies here because nobody is busier than a girly the day before her big trip, making a mess, filling up your tiny travel toiletries, hunting down that lost shoe that's going to make your outfit, making weird meals out of all the food you have left in your fridge. I'm sure the dragon wizard boy gets that. He really knows. Don't ever talk to a girly the day before her trip. They decide that Saphira is full enough for the time being, like she's got enough energy to get to the island, but if they can't find food like there, she might not make it back, which is bad. But that is a classic future Aragon and Saphira problem.
Seems like a big problem.
Just a bit. And then they tell Blödhgarm and Jormungandr what they're doing. And while the furry is very chill about being abandoned in the middle of this war, Jormungandr is understandably a little pissed that his army is going to be losing its commander-in-chief and its strongest weapon in one fell swoop. It's a tough look for the Varden, but not to worry. We'll have a signature like Ocean's Elf Levin hologram to assuage concerns for like at least a few days. And they do think the trip is going to be like a quick like 3 or 4 day turnaround, right?
There and back again.
Yes, exactly. Aragon and Arya spend the rest of the night like making the rounds to tell all the relevant VIPs, and shout out to our favorite slattern Triana, who warrants a place in the Need to Know Council. That's my girl. Orin naturally is the biggest dick about the whole thing out of everybody. We knew that was coming, but they're able to bring him around, and as dawn breaks after the chaos of the night, Aragon is forced to once again grapple with his nemesis, Dane. Public speaking.
Yeah, he really has a hard time.
I know. Luckily, he gets a pep talk from Roran before the speech, and our brother cousin has the perfect advice. You know that crowd? they're not actually like enemies trying to kill you. Just like chill out, fake it till you make it. Just like imagine that they're nice because they're nice. And although Eragon is dreading the speech much more than from the text, he says a 100 versus 1 single combat. He's like, I would rather do that.
Yeah.
He does not channel any of that energy into actually preparing his public remarks. He just wings it.
Still a young man.
Rolls out there loose. But apparently the whole like blackout and just ramble strategy works for him because his speech is received with resounding cheers. Do you think that would work for us on the pod? Do you think we could get away with that?
Completely loose.
Completely unprepared. Just rambled for a while. Don't remember a thing we said when it's over.
I already have a hard time remembering what it said when it's over. And like also it'd be like 10 minutes.
No.
Or hours.
I was like, are you kidding, Dane? It would be 6 hours and it would be
about one topic.
Absolutely nonsensical. We need the outlines to keep us
going.
Yes. Auric gives them Papa Guntera's blessing before they go, and Arya gives Eragon a kiss on the forehead that is described as formal. So I'm not sure what the shippers are going to make out of that.
Weird.
I was like, that is not what you want, bud. And with the goodbyes said, this episode's chapters end with Eragon and Saphira taking to the skies to see if Rowengard is their salvation or a trap. What's it going to be?
It's time for analysis.
While we wait to see what's going to happen, I do want to talk a little bit about the theme I noticed in this section of chapters. After all the chaos and violence and badassery we got in the conclusion of the battle for Dras Leona and the subsequent abduction of Queen President, the theme really came to me in the later chapters of this section with the Rock of Cuthien reveal. Because I think what this section is really driving home is the age-old idea that knowledge is power. And this theme has been with us from the jump as the unifying idea of our mid-season 1 analysis segment. So props for a little parallelism here.
Hell yeah.
Middle of the last season now. And that was the section where our main character learned to read in a week, remember, as a pivotal plot point. Remember the letter A, Dane? Learn it.
Learned it in 4 days on a horse.
Yes, that is our headcanon. That's official. Yeah. That's official lore now. So after I had my own little like knowledge is power light bulb moment finding the theme here, I got to thinking it actually is an idea we see the groundwork laid for in a couple of different places during the pre-revelation fight scenes. The first one is something I know we were both stoked to see, and it's Eragon finally using Arryn in a battle. Like, as much as we're like, this is what you're going to use it for, it was really nice to see him remember that it's there.
Yeah.
I don't know what could be a clearer tie-in to your knowledge giving you power than the act of remembering your secret weapon, having it provide you with a battle-winning amount of power. Like... very on its face.
It's pretty good.
Yes. The other clear illustration of this theme concerns Murtag's successful midnight raid on the Varden's camp. It's something we talked a lot about. Way back when this theme came up in episode 5 of the first season, we talked about the potential costs. Back then, it was literally in dollars and cents of Eragon's ignorance as he navigated his first big city in Tyrim. Like somebody was trying to charge him for information, basically. Yeah. And I think we see that concept mirrored here, just with the stakes turned to $1 billion. It's not like an innkeeper anymore in a couple of cents. It's like the entire Varden has gaps in understanding its enemies, and that allows Murtag to slip past every single layer of the rebels' defense here. And they're going to pay a potentially campaign-ending price for their lack of knowledge now that Naswat is gone. And that leads us to the most obvious representation of the knowledge is power thing here with the discovery of the Rock of Cuthien. And don't worry, I'm not going to sit here and belabor the point about something that just on its face is super clear in the text. But there were a couple things that did stick out to me as interesting about this.
Okay.
First, when Christopher Paolini started going hard on the mystery and confusion that surrounds the info drop with Solumbum's frustratingly limited knowledge and Eragon fighting a truly evil foe, collective amnesia, in a section where we're really going in on knowledge being the most important thing to the extent it is worth deserting your army at the height of a war to acquire.
Yeah.
I found the repeated emphasis on how much the characters don't know, raising my curiosity. Why is this all in here? And whenever I'm not positive what something in the series is getting at, I inevitably bring it back to coming of age. Remember her? She's still here. To me, I can see how we've taken a concept that was very cut and dried back in the first book, where Eragon learned to read and the new knowledge solved his problem. Just point A to point B, letter A to letter B, if you will. And now it's something that feels more mature and crops up for me all the time personally. Knowledge is essential, but more often than not, the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know, obviously.
Yeah,
Big
it's a bummer.
deal. Yes, but I think it speaks so clearly to like what it is like to mature in this world, you know?
Yeah.
And while we're vaguely on the subject of the first time this theme came up, the last knowledge is power thing I wanted to mention is what it might mean, I think, in terms of foreshadowing. So, like I just talked about in that first book, Aragorn gained knowledge and solved his problem in Tierm. So if this theme is really being mirrored here, fingers crossed, I'm hopeful that whatever is in the Vault of Souls is going to be the key to taking down Galbatorix, the just and rightful ruler of Alagaesia.
Yes, of course.
So I, once again, get to wrap things up with nothing but optimism and love in my heart, Dane, which is just so nice for me. Do you feel it too? Optimism? Love?
Do I feel it too, Jacqui? Do I feel it? I'm a man who grapples with the hate. I hold it between my two hands week after week. We're not even doing a deep dive.
Oh, damn.
There's so much hate we have to talk about.
Okay.
We're jumping right into it. This week
Diving deep into the hate.
Look, I don't like to be the bearer of bad news, but there's some hate this week.
Actually, you did your research, huh? Have you even read it? How you pronounce it?
What are the haters saying?
No, there's an index in the back, right?
This is really derivative.
There are two big gripes the haters have that I need to get to, and I think they might have at least 1 point this week.
No, Dane.
Yeah, I
No,
know.
Dane.
I'm so sorry, everybody. First, we have Murtagh and Aragorn fighting once again. So far, the haters would point out that Aragorn has faced off against Murtagh a handful of times, and on each occasion, he has either been bested or essentially had a draw with Murtagh.
Okay, yeah.
And after we've spent so much time in training montages with Aragorn, and we could probably safely assume that Murtagh isn't getting a solid mentorship in Galbatorix, it begins to feel
That's hearsay. Objection,
true,
hearsay.
That is. It begins to feel like something is slightly off about these confrontations.
Okay.
In their first combat on the Burning Plains, Aragorn was surprised by Murtagh appearing as an enemy rider for
Yes.
multiple reasons.
Yes.
The least of which was the discovery that Murtagh was even alive, right?
That's so true.
Aragorn was also exhausted from the beginning of the battle by the time Murtagh showed up, while Murtagh was fresh to that duel with
Yes.
the aid of Eldonari.
Yeah.
So that first defeat made some sense. In
Yeah.
fact, that first defeat feels right, feels earned. When we meet again in Brisingar at the battle hot on the heels of the Burning Plains.
That's right. Hot turnaround.
Yeah, it's just a quick turnaround. Most of the factors that led to Aragorn losing that first time are completely mitigated.
Yeah.
First, there's no surprise about Murtagh being alive,
Okay.
Murtagh being his brother, Murtagh being a rider,
Yeah.
or Murtagh's insane power. All those things we
So true.
know about. They're not surprising.
Yeah.
Exhaustion isn't a factor here either. Aragorn hits him fresh. Yeah. He goes right into it,
Shows up rested.
Yeah, he has a little
relaxed.
stretch in before he got to the real workout. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So what happens? Aragorn gets his butt kicked.
Yeah.
He's stabbed through the hip, essentially losing the sword portion of another duel with Murtagh.
Okay.
Then he forgets about his ring Arin,
Tough luck.
which is not great.
Tough luck.
And it leads to him losing the magical portion of the standoff, even with the support of Arya and the elf kill team.
Yeah.
Murtagh should not have gotten away. There were several easy and very reliable solutions, Arin being the most obvious.
Yeah.
The second would have been for Aragorn to draw energy from the natural world around him.
Okay.
The third would have been able to magically enhance his body, if this is the limiting factor in the sword confrontation with Murtagh.
That makes sense.
And here's the thing about the whole face-off. If Murtagh can enhance his speed and endurance with Eldonari, then it's also true that Aragorn could do the same with Arin. The energy from the natural world, including the little slaughterhouse energy we've seen him pull from.
Yeah.
Or even the connection to the 13 elves who he's bonded with. He could and should have been much faster and stronger than Murtagh,
Okay.
considering he's starting with a significant advantage with his
Yeah.
elven body. And the argument that it's too much for Aragorn or that it's too much to get used to doesn't really hold up for the haters.
Yeah.
After all, Murtagh seems to be handling it just fine. You know what I mean?
He does seem to be just rolling along, unimpeded.
Which gets to the crux of the problem. One I discussed a bit in episode 2 of this season.
Okay.
If we're getting to focus so much on skill in battle
Yes.
in these books and see Aragorn training so much, we just don't have enough from Murtagh outside of these battles to make it make sense.
Okay.
I just don't think we have been shown or told by Paolini in this book, other than in the battles with Aragorn, why Murtagh is so much better than Aragorn.
Yeah.
If there is indeed a reason other than Eldonari, the haters need to show more information to justify it.
Yeah.
Like they need it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This leads us to the final section of chapters where, yet again, despite the Doth Dart, Murtagh and Thorn being separated, the Nighthawks, all of whom are the best warrior casters their races have to
I always
offer.
forget that they're magic.
Yes, the Blödhgarm Bloody Brigade, the entire order
We'll
of
workshop.
we're gonna get there. The entire order of Duvringer Garda, Elva,
Yeah.
Angela,
Jesus.
Solumbum, the entire Varden army, and then, Aragorn and Saphira. Murtagh's able to essentially just walk into the Varden camp, whisk away the leader of the Resistance movie, and all because surprise attack?
Yeah.
The haters just don't know how that could be possible with what we saw in the chapter's description, not to mention why Aragorn could not get to Nasawada or Murtagh in time, especially after Arya cleared him up, right?
Yeah.
I'll end this first hater topic with the last hater's thought.
Ooh.
Murtagh and Thorn appear to wield a power surpassing even what a few Eldenari should be able to bring.
Okay.
So despite the Varden's numbers, magical precautions, and defenses, it seems like there's little that can hinder their missions, short of capturing Aragorn and Saphira.
Okay.
So I think that's it, right? That's the part. That's what this all comes down to. That's the first hater's thought this week, and all I can offer in defense is that we don't know how much of the how powerful the Eldenari are that Murtagh possesses. Maybe this all makes sense. As for Aragorn not being able to enhance himself like Murtagh, I guess it's possible there's an upper limit on superhuman abilities for the human brain in this world, and it might even be elven strength and speed.
Yeah.
But either that or it stems from some mysterious other branch of magic that Aragorn just doesn't know, like spirits maybe or something.
Okay.
It's a lame defense, but it's all I've got.
Well, and is it that Murtagh is faster and stronger than Aragorn, or he just is as fast and as strong as Aragorn? And so if that's basically the idea being, if that's upper limit, they're both there. So it's kind of an even playing ground
that's
where
my defense.
It shouldn't be an even
exactly.
playing ground.
If there's an upper limit and that Aragorn's already reached it, then all Murtagh has done is match him, which I give will be the defense. But I just don't think we've been explained why it's not. I think it has been mentioned. I think Ormus does talk about it, but I just don't know if it makes much sense or if it's been explained, and I don't know why. And so I think the haters are like, what is this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I feel like so much of what the haters hate, it boils down to how much you need solid in the text backstory, because I think for myself there are some limbs I can go out on and things that I can come up with that make enough sense to me where it does not at all pull me out of the series. But a lot of readers do not enjoy reading like that. They want solid, they want crunchy, they want I
think it's one of those things that if you create the fantasy world and you've told us the rules, if you subvert them, they get pissed. There's a certain reader that gets upset about it.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not one of them. You're not one of them.
Yeah.
But this is the segment I have to mention. But
there are a lot of people, and it makes sense. If, like we always say, if something pulls you out of the book, it's a problem for you.
Yeah.
I get why you don't like it.
You get why you don't like it. The second issue that they discussed this week, though, is Aragorn's decision to leave the Varden Rebellion in its most dire time.
I don't know what you mean. That's not a problem. That is so understandable to me.
Oh gosh, it's getting serious. I gotta go. Oh, my mom's calling. I gotta hold on one second. They argue that armies need leaders to give them hope and to trust that they'll be led to victory.
Yeah.
That they will be kept safe and that someone has a plan.
Yeah.
Nasawada, who has made it her mission to become such a leader, has just been kidnapped. And to make matters worse, the mighty Nighthawks and the Varden's Dragon Rider have both suffered another defeat at the hands of the enemy. Everyone in this resistance would be insanely spooked. And I know some of you are listening and thinking, they're going to put an illusion of Aragorn so that everyone thinks he's still present and leading the Varden, and all the leaders have already agreed with it, Dane, so shut up. But I think the haters would say that there are 4 practical reasons this doesn't really sit right.
Okay.
First, the various leaders are all going to be stressed out. These commanders have a lot. They've pissed off Galbatorix. These commanders have committed their forces in his territory at great expense, and now they're supposed to soldier on without a rider or their unifying leader. Should Murtagh or Gal himself come to attack them before they get to the capital?
We've seen at least one leader. Dark Orin does not handle stress well, I don't think.
Second, Nasawada has been the clever strategist and unifying politician who's put together this unlikely coalition, pushed for this moment of war, and led this army of different factions so far. despite this outright hatred for each other in some instances.
Yeah.
We're talking about humans and dwarves working with Urgles hot on the heels after the Battle of Farthendor because of her say-so and her deft hand and managing the issues that come with that.
Yeah.
Nasawada is also able to keep King Orin, Dark Orin, from throwing a tantrum and being reckless. The council from dicking around, the wandering tribes from continually, like, they need to continually pump money into the war effort.
Yeah.
She's doing all of that.
Yes.
Maybe, just maybe, Aragon could do the same because of what he means to the people of Alagaesia as a writer.
Yeah.
But the haters don't really buy that these very different factions are going to continue to work together well with both him and Nasawada gone.
Yeah.
And as the various leaders become strained with no big boss to wrangle them, I think it's safe to say that the vibes these leaders would be putting off would not be immaculate.
Yeah.
And wars are won and lost sometimes on vibes. And you need an army that feels confident and secure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's so true.
Yeah, it's already a long shot too. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Third, the haters would mention that in discussions and comments scattered throughout the interwebs, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
Galbatorix knew enough to coordinate a perfect kidnapping of the most powerful leader of the Varden.
Yes.
And has been able to organize a strike that caught the Varden with their pants down. Mm-hmm. If Galbatorix always seems to know just enough to give Murtagh the edge he needs, then he might have a superior spy network.
Yeah.
Thus, he should easily be able to tell that Aragon is really not present in the army.
Oh, that's such a good point.
In which case, he could strike while the Varden are less prepared and than they've ever been in the war.
Yeah.
And Galbatorix could end it here and still have some free time to destroy the elves and enslave Aragon.
Chilling.
Both of which are now literally hundreds of times easier without this Varden horde. So it's such a big risk for an unknown gain.
Yeah.
And the haters think it's reckless of Aragon in the extreme.
Yes.
Which leads to their fourth and final point. Thank God we're almost done with their hate. Something that also bothers me and something I mentioned all those seasons ago is prophecy. I have become the hate again. The prophecy,
always this that'll drag you back in.
Yeah, they always get me. They always entice me back into their side. Prophecy is tough. We know this is a prophetic moment full of magical mystery and grandeur, and because of the space lump under the Manoa tree, we know that Aragon must go on the mission, right?
Yeah.
But now whatever Aragon and Saphira get from this trip will be undermined by its predictive nature.
Okay.
It feels a little less earned. Unlike Nasawada or Roran, Aragon and Saphira never seem to create their own destiny or solutions to me.
Yeah.
They never seem to they never seem free to earn their own achievements just by their ingenuity and strength of will.
Yeah.
And if you've ever heard a word I've said about prophecy, you can guess that this is where I will line up with the haters.
Yeah.
I'm I guess this does kind of bum me out. But for my response to the haters this week, I actually do have some defenses.
Okay.
For the first 3 points about the army, I think meh.
Yeah.
I mean, meh. Maybe some of that makes sense, but also the soldiers and the leaders of their factions can't really stray from the course.
No.
The Urgles have
Pot committed.
Yeah, I mean, the Urgles have openly betrayed an alliance with Gal.
Yeah.
The elves have left their forest shelter.
Yeah.
And politically, King Ulrich needs this war to win, or he's going to have a rough reign back at the dwarfs in the BR Mountains.
So true.
Maybe the Varden humans, the wandering tribes, and the Surdans could kind of meld back into the Empire again, but I seriously doubt it.
That's the thing Gal's going to allow to happen?
Yeah,
I
no.
doubt it.
And King Orin, he's screwed.
Yes.
So I think it's more likely they'll press on and hope for the best, and I think the troops won't find out in the course of the next few days this is going. It's too quick the turnaround, right? So this doesn't bother me so much. As for the prophecy thing, I think it's a problem. But I have a whole host of reasons that aren't limited to this scenario, you know. So I'm just not much of a fan of a prophecy in general.
No.
You know what I mean?
No, you don't like it. And I was thinking it's interesting while you were talking about Aragon and Saphira and how they don't create their destiny the way that maybe Naswada or Roran do.
Yeah.
I feel like a part of that too could be just the nature of the epic journey they're on and them inhabiting that role of the chosen ones. You're chosen and then you don't really get a choice. They don't have choices by and large throughout this series. So it is hard to see them stray outside the box. And I think as far as going and risking Galbatorix coming down on the Varden in their absence, I mean, that point does make a lot of sense to me too. That is scary to risk, but we also know, even and maybe especially after what happened at Leona with Murtagh and Thorn getting away, they don't really have a chance unless something else changes the game. And so, like, not that I'm saying it just is a worthwhile risk, but I can understand where if that's the balancing point, like, if things stand as they do right now, they're going to die when they get to Urobane anyway. So, like, maybe risk.
Yeah, I think from a top-down perspective like that, it makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
I think the thing that people sometimes get upset about is, like, in the moment, those other people as well.
Yeah.
Like, how many of them would actually be like, this makes sense in there, living it? And I think that sometimes becomes the complicated force in these conversations about fantasy novels. So because I agree with you. Like, you know what I mean? And then what I would say is, like, even on that, it comes back to prophecy for me. It's like, I just hate that it's like, oh, yes. And then of course, you were always supposed to be here. And it's like, bummer, man. I wanted him to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we'll see. There's a lot of book left. So we'll see what happens. But we did, like, purge the hate.
Oh, good.
Successfully.
Do you
from
feel
the pod.
better? You look better.
I do feel better.
Look happy.
I feel much better.
Good.
I want to dig into, like, one fun question to replace my deep dive.
Okay.
Before we wrap this series.
Hell yeah.
What mid-war side quest would you go on if you were elected the leader of the Rebellion Alliance? Because I know you and me are getting the hell out of there.
Yes, 100%.
So what are we doing?
Here's the thing about me, and I'm not proud of this as a person. I love to read a fantasy book. I love a chosen one narrative.
Yeah.
Were I the chosen one, the world is ending. I think personally, like, there's almost nothing that won't clear the bar to get me to, like, want to run straight away from the power of leading a rebel faction in a war. I'd be like, just like you said, like, my mom's calling. I think I actually was supposed to wash my hair that day, and like the next week, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be sick. I had that on the calendar for a while.
I gotta get out of here, guys.
Yeah, I think I'd have a lot of reasons to go in this world. I think just like a little vacation to Trondheim would be enough to get me to go. I could make up a reason.
Yeah.
I'd be like, actually, they told me that the star sapphire would give me the power I need, so I need to go commune with the giant gem because there's untold power contained in its depths.
Guntera is calling me.
Yes, and people would believe that. Gemstones hold power. That one's gigantic. I could sell it. It's all in the marketing, Dane.
That's hilarious.
What about you?
I don't know. I think part of me wants to be like, I would go find Tenga.
Okay.
And I'd go take up an apprenticeship for like a little bit of time.
Be like, I met a man once. He knows way too much, but maybe not enough.
Or like down that same line, as much as we all know my feelings on Angela now.
Yeah.
But I might go to Angela and be like, look, you need to like teach me some things.
Yes, it's clear that you might have a trump card in this situation.
Yeah. Time stopping might be helpful against Galbatorix.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Good point.
Or I like tattoos. So like body modifications. Maybe go get myself some fists.
Okay.
Maybe
more fists, bigger fists.
Well, like the fist implants, the dwarves. Yeah.
Like Aragon already has them. So are you going to get more?
Well, this is if
better?
I was. Aragon has them. I don't have them.
I guess I'm imagining if you're in Aragon's situation here.
Oh, well, then definitely I'm running away with Blödhgarm, and we're having like he's turning me into a more animalistic, my final form, right? I'm turning into like a bear man. And then maybe, just maybe, like there's a little bit of a sexual awakening there.
What?
But like, I don't know. I've got to get away.
Oh my God. We have to leave it there for today.
Okay, well, that's probably fair. We've probably been on the pod too long.
Oh my God,
Here we go.
That's amazing. For your mid-war, like this could save everybody. You're like, I got to go spend some time with Blödhgarm.
It's a body modification. I got to become the beast.
Good.
Yes. Blödhgarm's like, yes. Anyway, thank you for listening. Make sure to rate and review on Apple Podcasts to be entered into our merch giveaway. Yeah. Don't forget, you're only entered if you confirm with an email to isthisjustfantasypod@gmail.com. It's the same place. You can hit us up with questions, feedback, and recommendations for our books to cover on the show. And we just got one today, and we love it every time.
So true.
Please do.
Also, questions never go amiss on this pod. We love to answer questions, so please send them through. If you want to keep pace and read along with us, on our next episode, we will be covering Chapter 42, The Torment of Uncertainty, through Chapter 48, Burrow Grubs.
Yeah.
Burrow Grubs? Sounds grubby. I'm not burrowy and I'm not grubby.
Well, I want to burrow into the plot. I want to sink my body in.
I don't want to do it next time. It's gonna be so sad.
Thanks for catching our show.